recording. You can just focus on these things or just kind of monitor what your devices are doing. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Some people are weird about talking to people they can't actually see. But again, I do have to write down that 17, 18. Did you get any other numbers? That 31, right?
Yeah, it went back up to 28 and 30 at one point.
Nice. So, love when they do that. And it probably went right back down underneath 2 again, immediately. Yeah. So ghosts don't stand still. That's why they call it ghost hunting. 31, 17, 18. I'll take that 28, and you had a 30 as well. So those are writing in the dark is now on my resume too, by the way, just so you know. Like, because I write down things every night, and then of course I have to go back to the office and unscramble everything of what I just scribbled. So yeah, writing in the dark is now on my resume. All right, you're cracking me up here. I love you. So, what other terms have we had to come up with? They even give you the actual maiden names. Maiden names. Right. Eliza L. So is the second. So you can ask Eliza how old she was when she got married. Not necessarily. And you can just kind of focus on it. So if you're like, okay, I'm not really saying she wasn't. But at the same time, like if you two just walking around.
It's a lot of static. It's literally it.
She said, look it up.
I would definitely take a glance at what words are you getting around the same time. Communication about the marriage.
Oh, yeah. Hello, Eliza. How are you? I know you used to live here.
I kept it nice and simple. So the maiden names of the 2 Elizas, the age of Eliza, and if you wanted to take it further, you can ask how old her husband was or how long they were married. I just wanted to give you 3 number questions and then the 2 easy.
What are we asking? Right here, it would be
More questions.
I don't believe it.
How she died.
We can answer all the time.
What president?
Some nights I don't have one term, I don't have to mean something. There's other nights where I have 25. I never.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
That
right.
total 25 match up with what else would be on her.
So what do we ask?
How old were you when you died? How did you die? How did you die? Right? How old was she? How old was she and how did she die?
And who was the...
Mulberry. What president was it? Let's walk.
I wish I wasn't hearing a bunch of static.
I feel like when it starts talking, we gotta stop. Guilty pleasure.
No, there was no affairs.
That's right. She was in love 20 years ago. 20.
Are we supposed to like directly ask and wait?
Yeah.
So just one question at a time?
Yeah, let's
and
ask
wait?
one question. You ask. What question?
What age?
How old were you when you died?
You said 42. There's
I
no...
said 92.
No. You either said 42 or 92.
It's that same guy voice that keeps popping in. Sounds familiar.
And then... did you die, right?
How did she?
Can you say that again?
What's she say? It's the same guy.
Ain't no way Ice Spice just came on. So what is it? How did you die? How did you die?
Come this way. It's really cold right there. But
I wonder if it's because it's been concrete.
what is that?
All right, Sarah, how are we doing on here?
I heard the word beautiful.
So how she died?
Mhm.
President. The president.
Which president was Paul
Right
Bear?
there was drowned, because that was the first thing you said. So it's usually your first instinct. So again, don't
So
second
which
guess yourself.
president
When I
was
ask
the
you guys
Paul
what you
Bear
heard, just have a confidence of,
at the
I heard
funeral?
drowned and I heard beautiful.
At her funeral.
At
Beautiful
her
is three
funeral.
syllables. It's very easy to distinguish, especially with the consonants that are in there. Sorry, I'm an English guy, so words mean things to me. But drown and down, like your first instinct was drown, because that's the first thing you said to me. That's what I'm going to read. It's not relevant, but you heard something. I'm excited. So, are you hearing the same thing that she is? Okay.
Is it music? Like,
It could be. Yep. So, and it's not about the song that you heard. It's very. So,
Can't make out any songs.
Huh?
Except Ice Ice Baby. Didn't that come up?
I know we look stupid, all these people going by.
What song was it? A lot of talk about cars.
all right, you two. What do we got going on? What have we heard so far?
42 or 92? I heard 42, she heard 92.
Yeah.
But,
And
like,
he rolled his eyes at us.
yeah.
No, I'm sure. Well, first off, another one of those numbers like, oh my God, it's 42. Like none of those like
Oh.
ring a bell to me, but I'm gonna write them both down just because with a question mark, like because you weren't sure what it was.
Yeah.
And just like I told her, it's usually your first instinct. So you guys each gave me your first instinct. That's why I'm giving it a question mark because you were both listening.
Yeah.
What else did we hear?
That's it so far.
That's it. Nothing else? It's not
Yeah.
easy to do, is it?
No, it's not.
It's a lot of static.
And it's the silliest things that you're going to hear that are going to make the most sense to our locations.
Okay.
So when you hear a song, it's about what they were singing. So I don't care that you heard Harry Styles. I just explained to them. I want to know that you heard him sing as it was. Does that make sense? So again, it's not about who they heard. It's about what you hear.
You said you heard a lot about cars, didn't you?
Yeah, there's been a lot of like car talk, like a road trip. There was an accident.
Yeah.
Okay. So you heard the phrase road trip, car accident.
Yeah.
And then car again. I've heard it 3 times.
No, I know that that might not seem relevant to our space, but when you hear things like that, that's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
So again, you only told me a number so far. You're looking for the answers to the questions I gave you. Remember that we have 4 other people asking questions.
Yes.
We don't know what they're asking. So those answers can come over here. So if you heard, road trip, might not mean anything to Eliza herself, but we don't know what the hell they're asking. So it's going to go in the notes just as it is.
Okay.
Again, car accident, there were no cars in the 1700s, right? So I understand why you kind of like threw it away.
Yeah.
But again, we may still have trickle over from Big John as well.
Gotcha.
So we're still close enough in proximity to that location.
Okay.
So, but that's kind of how this will work.
So it'll hearing car 3 times is something.
Oh yeah, especially if you hear the same word like over and over again.
Yeah.
It's usually kind of a double is when I'm like paying attention. It's almost like the word is screaming at me, like, "Hey, car accident, car accident."
Okay.
I'm like, okay, I need to look to see if there's a car accident in this area with a death that may be haunting something nearby.
Okay.
Again, that's where I get to learn stuff.
Okay.
And Laura is just having a field day with like trying to understand everything of how everything is working together. I love it. She's like, so you think Eliza's a ghost? I'm like, they're both ghosts. We're gonna find them. So, I love it. And how do I put this? So, I love when people have not a skeptic approach, but just a cautious approach to how we're actually doing things out here. 'Cause some people, there's a stigma to ghosts, right? They're scary, they're haunting, whatever. But at the same time, it's a matter of like, when I start showing you how the evidence starts to piece together, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, they're not scary. This is a real cool thing. They're talking to us. Let's get a conversation started.
Yeah.
But again, when you give me those weird phrases, that's what I'm after.
Okay.
Any other major things that you have questions about, now that you have a better gist? So I'll do one more quick round robin with everybody, and then I'm going to yank us all to the back.
Okay.
Only because we don't spend a ton of time here, just out of respect for Eliza. I'll explain before we leave the space, because this can be very temperamental for too long.
Said United States. It's a 20 degrees difference. What song is that? Another car commercial. Did you hear it? Also said New Jersey. Did you hear that?
I just said United States earlier.
You want to walk in the middle?
Yeah, we only did that.
What did it say? voice? How come I can't figure that out?
Don't die on a
That just gave me chills.
That one's odd.
What'd she say?
I don't know.
That literally just gave me chills.
What is the name of that song that we were playing?
All right, ladies, let's do this. We're gonna head to the back. You guys can tell me more about what you heard. Well, anything else? Kara, anything?
Should I turn this off?
Did you hear
Alright.
Big John? Earlier?
Lexi, did you get any? The person using it was like, why is it being like all sexual? It gave me the word breast. I'm like, because Eliza died of breast cancer. Like, again, it's kind of like, thank you for that. I love the reaction, by the way. Did you guys all see that? That's why we're here. So we didn't know what that was in 1793. That was the year she died. We are going based off of her medical records now, so kind of put that in perspective. Now, Philadelphia, that's where she died. That's where she's buried. 2 questions. If Eliza's in Philadelphia, what the hell are we doing here? I don't actually take you to cemeteries. The reason why, none of you are going to hang out near your headstone when you're gone. You're going to go to where your raised emotion was, where you raised your family, 400 miles away in your beautiful mansion. That's exactly why you're standing in the middle of an empty parking lot. The mansion was here. This is where the most emotion was for Eliza. That's what I look for when I'm looking for new spaces, is raised emotion. And it doesn't always have to be a scary, gory thing like what they show you on TV. Second, baby George. If my theory is true, they would have transported his tomb from here all the way to Philadelphia by horse and carriage. That's a long trek. I'm going to say at least 2 to 3 weeks minimum. So that's kind of a creepy thought to be that driver with a dead baby in the back of your carriage. And I say don't Google it, is don't go home and Google mummified baby. Like, that's a weird thing. The government will call you. So kind of keep that in the back of your brains before you guys start looking into that. And again, that's why I say it's my theory and my theory alone. Nobody else really agrees with me on that one. So who wants to take a guess who the president was that was the pallbearer at the funeral, now that you know what year she died? Guesses? History buffs? I love the shuffling feet, by the way. Like, he's asking questions. So, all right, I love that you can't answer. Let me explain. It was George Washington. At his own request, he wanted to pay homage to Eliza based on her indigo. It helped get our country started. It was a big deal to him. And again, let's face it, the Pinckney men, most of them were politicians. It's not like he didn't know his 13 governors, so kind of keep that in mind. I'm happy you couldn't answer, because when we got over here, I told y'all I'm not going to give you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there at the Big Red Barn. I subliminally put George Washington in the back of all of your brains, waiting for somebody to give me the answer when I did my Ron Robbins. Notice I gave you all the answers, but that one, I gave you all one more shot to screw it up, and you all passed with a fail. Good job. So I do that every single night because I want you guys to have a genuine experience. So if Lexi were to say, I heard George Washington, or I think it was George Washington, I don't know why, I'm like, well, I know why, because I put it in the back of your brain. Give me your spirit box, it's going to Mom. Like, I just don't want somebody to repeat all the same things that I've already said all night long. Have a fun experience. Don't always search for those answers. You never know why something is popping up. They might just be grabbing a word that's relevant to them, even though you're asking a direct question. So, we could have had bleed over from Big John's over here. I think I've already told some of you that. So, that's, two different century ghosts, but every once in a while I get things from Big John over here and Pinckney Mansion stuff over there. We're only 1 block away. What we're going to next is an alleyway. We're not going to be able to explore it like what we just did here, right? So there may even be other tours in that area. So we're going to go in there and kind of stir things up a little bit, and then we're going to go across the street, and you communication device people are going to get answers from your both the alleyway and the space after that at the same time. So I know that sounds like a lot, but with the alley, you kind of have to be inside of it to fully understand how that ghost and spirit works. Not to mention, it's a gorgeous alleyway. It's one of the prettiest spots we have in Charleston if you haven't been. So let's go learn about killing people in a duel. That sounds like a good time, right? You're like, oh no, we haven't been working. You're both fired. So funny. But anyway, hopefully, if we get anything, it'll be on your audio or my audio voice recorder. I won't say that we have not gotten whistles from songs on Lexi's device with the word doctor after it. So think of some of the songs that have whistles in it, like Guns N' Roses' Patience, the new Moves Like Jagger song. They all have whistles in the song somewhere. So we'll get a little part of that and then the word doctor after. I don't find it coincidental that I see that more often than I probably should. We'll also get numbers like 59 and things relative to that house because that was the address of where the doctor lived. It's very interesting how these kind of pieces come up. Now, if you're going to try this on your own and walk all the way through here and try to get whistles on your voice recorders from your phones, I want you to keep in mind that every local knows this story. If you're trying this down here and you're the only 2 people down here, anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street will throw a whistle down the alley. I do it every morning when I'm done with your guys' data. My office is over here, my garage is where we passed it. So every morning, when I'm done with your data, I do it every morning, especially since I've been thrown out of here. Let's get into that, because that sounds like fun, right? So I can't take you all the way through here. Let me explain. I will tell you... There's a reason why we stopped right here. Halfway between us and Cumberland Street, where we came in, there used to be a wall up there. The reason why is because this is where they kept the livestock. It was called Cow Alley before it was called Dueler's Alley. So imagine cows and chickens are all down here. That means that the bricks down by the Queen Street side are older than the ones we're standing on. Those are sun-dried bricks from slave children. I used to take my teams down there because there's a full handprint from a slave child down there. And I didn't do it because it was something paranormal. Because I treat that brick the same way I do a grave. That kid's not there. That's the last place you're going to find him. I used to do it just because we all need to see how far we've come from slavery. I didn't care about the diversity of the group. We would just go. I point it out, and we try to move on. However, November 26th of 2020, my entire group of 10 people is huddled around that damn brick waiting for something to happen on all of the gear I passed out. I'm trying to shoo them along because I know nothing's going to happen, but I'm also trying to be respectful to the beautiful mansion at the end of the alley. I didn't realize I was out of bounds. For tourists, we're not allowed to be in residential areas. I was new at this. Now, the new owner of that mansion came out screaming. My daughter thought it was great because she was on the tour that night and her dad's getting yelled at. She found it hysterical. We moved on. The next day was Thanksgiving. I don't tour on Thanksgiving because I work for the biggest retailer in the world for a long period of time, upper management. Yes, I was the guy that broke up all the fights over the chows on Black Friday. Now you guys know why I don't do Thanksgiving anymore. So the next day, November 28th, I called my partner that I had at the time and I told him what happened. He laughed at me, just like my daughter did. And he said, you're only allowed to go down halfway or else you got to reroute the group. So I decided I'm going to reroute the group, but I told my team that night, I don't believe in this next story. I'm a vampire guy, not a pirate person, and I've never had anything happen over there. So we're going to let this group pass by. Before we left the space, the person using the spirit box actually heard the name Anne. I did not tell them which pirate we were going to be investigating. The famous female pirate Anne Bonny. So I was kind of like, okay, maybe we'll get something. We go up and around the corner. I told them the little bit I did know about piracy. Remember, I had like less than 6 hours to do some quick research. I just said, let's just have some fun with this one because I don't believe in the story. Somebody else hears the number 300. I don't know what that means. I write it down. So I'm doing research for them the next day. We were there November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy, November 28th of 1720. So I was kind of like, all right, this is weird. You can kind of see the connection. You're like, yeah, right, that's a good one. So I love her questioning me. I love it. But most people actually get pretty excited. They can see where the connection is. I was actually pretty pissed off. Let me tell you why. Pirate stories come from pirate lore. Especially with this, I need facts and data. pirate lore was written 100 years after the fact of when these events actually occurred. So we don't know how true they actually are. I've had to read more damn books on pirates than I've ever wanted to in my entire life. Again, pirates are not my thing. They are now because I've read so much about them and watched more documentaries, and I'm even playing video games with pirates in them to get another version of another story. Because that's just the way this goes. Where we're going is a 50-50 shot. Anne is actually said to be seen all over town, and I'll explain why we're at that specific location when we get there. But again, we're rolling the dice. It is a crazy story, but it is also a kick-ass female pirate story. So you may learn a few things about pirates that you didn't know before, but just know that everything I will tell you at the next location came from a minimum of 2 resources. That was kind of my validation piece because of all of the research I had to do. Before we leave the space, why you guys are like super intrigued by pirates all of a sudden. I got everybody's full attention. Maybe it's because you're just like really close to me because you got away from the other tour. The gate behind me. I always like to explain this because not a lot of people do on our tours here in Charleston. Remember I told you that the alley didn't go all the way through this way? There was a wall up there. So if there was a loser to the duel down here, they needed a shortcut to get to the cemetery on the other side of the wall. Otherwise, they'd have to go all the way down to Queen Street and then double back to get up to St. Philip Church. So the wrought iron gate was probably put here in the early 1900s, but you can see that the archway is part of the original brickwork. So I just like to point that out, that there was a reason that this was actually put here. So it was just kind of a shortcut, so that way they can go celebrate the winter a lot quicker than having to double back with all the dead weight, literally. Wow, you guys are super quiet. You're creeping me out a little bit. Any readings at all?
There was a 4.8, but mostly it's been low.
This was the location. It was a 7. My apologies for not telling you that ahead of time.
Huh.
So this was the location where I would be looking for a 7 and above because of the lamppost.
Got it.
So that 4.8 I'm going to
Yeah.
dismiss.
Yeah.
So anything else that may have been heard? Lexi, where you
I heard the
listen?
word doctor, but that was it.
Heard the word doctor. You were obviously on mute. We're going to put you back to work now. So we're going to go up and around the corner. We're going to stay out of the way of the other tours. When we get over there, we're going to talk about pirates for about 5 minutes. We'll explore the space, but keep in mind you may still get things from the doctor because we're going to be relatively close in proximity. But again, next year, this is the one I'm taking out. I'm actually adding a murder mystery that's never been solved here in Charleston. So once I find the connection of where I can connect with this young lady, because where she actually died is part of that out of bounds of where we're not allowed to be. So I'm going to have to find something because she was a very prominent person. She belonged to a lot of different societies. So I'm going to go and basically research these spaces and see if I can get regular activity out of it and then add it to next year's tour. So it'll take me all of November and December to be able to do that. So again, those November, December tours are going to be experimental, just like they always are. They're usually much smaller groups because it does get pretty cold down here. All right, let's go learn about some rated R pirates. You guys ready for this?
Yeah.
That was a dad joke. Thank you for laughing.
All the night tours are those residential areas or something, but
Wait, I just got it. I just got this joke.
Wow.
Right. Yeah, it's the ambiance.
God, it's in your head.
Turn it up just a little bit.
When I go do an investigation, I'm just a tourist in a city just like you. So I go to museums, and I just have a bunch of stuff running. And I just listen and watch everything later. So I might hide a thermal imaging camera in my pocket up here. I'll have an EMF meter I'll check from time to time. I got a Spirit box recording for me for a night up here. And then just look at it later. So if I didn't get any paranormal anything out of it or any answers, I learned something while I was at the museum or the place of interest. So it's a win-win for me either.
any good spots in New York? Have you done?
Haven't. I will tell you, one of my most interesting places that I went to where I did like exact type of investigation was the Flight 93 Memorial in Shanksville, Pennsylvania.
Oh wow.
So I went there to pay my respects. They like let me run some deer. Went back. Couldn't believe all of the things that went on. And I didn't really know much going in there other than it was part of the night. So I didn't know any names of anybody. I didn't know anything that was going on with these people that unfortunately passed away. I didn't know they had a crash other than until I got there. And I still didn't know all of the things that played memory. So when I went through the evidence, I didn't know anything. So I'm just writing down everything computer, being unbiased. So that way when I started the research, I was like, holy crap, there's you know, those kind of connections are starting to be made.
Oh, we thought we were here. I've heard the word baby like 4 times.
Have you?
4 terms that you have.
Poetry, any draft beyond.
What was the first one?
Poetry,
Poetry.
any draft beyond.
Okay, poetry's relevant. Let's see if we have a connection. Lexi, did you hear anything?
I heard a lot of the word baby. I heard it like 4 times.
Of course you did. Now I told you the baby story, and you're going to keep sharing it. Okay, so I'll write that one down for sure. What do we get out of yours? A whole lot of nothing?
Yeah.
Believe it or not, Dr. Ladd wrote poetry, and his sister Elizabeth published his poetry after his death. It was called The Literary Remains of Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. Yeah, let's go ahead and put that guy on mute.
Let me stop the video.
No, you want to start your videos at
Okay.
this location. With the video, so Tiffany, with yours, obviously the wall behind me is not your friend.
Okay.
Covered in leaves. It's going to be men everywhere. So we don't need that one. But other tours may come through here. Just be mindful of that. We are here for the, I'm actually excited about poetry. I'm hoping there's going to be another connection, but you'll still have a link to his book because it was published and it is for sale on Amazon. Again, it'll be a link to a free copy of it that you guys can read online if you want to go back and read his poetry. So anything like that, if I can find a free digital copy for you, it'll be a link in your stuff. There is going to be another person later on. There's a link to his work as well. I don't want to give off too much because I'm trying to keep some things in the dark about the last location because some people aren't supposed to know anything about that location. Now, why are we here? The tiny little building up there. So some of you have already mentioned you've taken other tours and talked about this building. We're going to be looking at it in a much different light. So this is the Gunpowder magazine. It held gunpowder for 7 different wars, and those are not crosses on the building. Those are earthquake bolts. So if nobody explained what earthquake bolts are, I'll make it very simple. They're turnbuckles. It looks just like that on the other side. So if we have another earthquake, like what we did in 1886, which we have not, by the way, you can turn the turnbuckles and it'll tighten the building so it doesn't incur any further damage. You guys have seen them all over town with lion heads, pineapples, plain squares like this apartment building behind it. The lion heads and pineapple squares and any kind of decoration is just part of our Charleston charm bullshit. It's just to keep you guys, happy, like, oh, look at all this crazy stuff. And the funny thing about earthquake bolts is it's a great idea. It just doesn't work. It's not a thing. If I get Californians here, don't I have somebody from California here? No? Maybe it was the other group that canceled. But Californians laugh at me whenever I bring these up because they're like, that tech doesn't work anymore. I'm like, it never did work. What are you talking about? But anyway, those things are actually part of the reason why we're here. That's why I bring them up. The reason why those are so much bigger than the ones in the apartment building is because that's the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston ever put in to test it out. The reason why is that is the oldest government building in South Carolina. It was finished in 1713. We are here simply because that building was being constructed at the same time that Anne Bonny was coming here to start a new life. Is what I call a familiar. For those of you that watch the TV shows, they usually use that little teddy bear. It's called a Boo Buddy, all right? It actually has kind of an EMF reader in it, just like what Lauren's using, and it lights up if the child ghost gets near the teddy bear. They use that to attract a child ghost because they would recognize it. Think of that format when we're looking at something like this. We don't have many buildings this old in Charleston. We have a lot of old buildings, but not this old. So this is just something that Anne would recognize. So you guys with me on why we're here? Again, that's why it's a roll of the dice. We have a handful, but not many. Hopefully she's here at the same time we are. I think honestly with the word poetry coming through already, we're probably going to hear more about Dr. Ladd. Remind me also to write down the word doctor because I know you heard that earlier. So 1708 is right where our history begins, but also keep in mind that the building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government? Small building, 10 years? No, not at all. I'll answer for you. One night I actually had an FBI agent on my group, and I made that joke, and he's like, I'm an FBI agent. I'm like, well, sorry, man, the government sucks. What do you want me to say? Like, I'm glad you get paid well. Have a good night. So it is what it is. I don't make jokes. But anyway, 1708. There's a lot of twists here, so I will slow down as best I can on the twists. Young lady moves here from Ireland. Her name is Anne Cormack. She comes here with her father and his mistress. The mistress is Anne's mother. Are you with me so far? Okay, a lot of head nods, good. So, the 3 of them are running away from her father's angry wife. How mad was that wife that she kicked them out of the country when there's no such thing as airplanes? They had to get their asses over here by boat. So they landed in Georgetown. That's between us and Myrtle Beach. So Dad bought a plantation up there, and Mom died pretty quickly. So that means Dad is now sending young Anne down here to Charlestown to sell things from that plantation to keep things afloat. Hence, the familiar building. Take a step back to Ireland for just a second. I want to give you Anne's mentality. They say when she was only 7, 8, 9 years old, remember it's pirate lore, nothing is exact, they say she killed a servant with a knife to the belly. So kind of keep that in the back of your brains as we go through her story. Which, by the way, I can't tell you how many times we've had servant, knife, and belly coming out of 3 different communication devices, and 2 people don't know what the other 2 people are doing. So it happens all the time. back to the building. This thing was finished in 1713. By 1715, pirates are starting to come through Charlestown. Anne is stoked. Why? She's going to fall in love with one of these pirates so she can earn her freedom, just like a man. It's a man's world at this point. The first guy she falls in love with, and I said first because there is a handful. We're going to cover them all. That's what makes the story so damn interesting. First guy is James Bonny. You already see where this one's going. Dad did not approve because he's a filthy pirate. They ran away to Jamaica. They got married, and Cormac becomes Anne Bonny. That's where the pirate name comes from. However, when they get down there, she realizes her new husband is not the Captain Jack Sparrow that she was hoping for. This guy turns out to be a privateer, which means he's a spy and a coward for the British. This isn't who she wanted. A few years go by, and she falls in love again. Guy number 2. I'll keep tally for you, don't worry. Guy number 2 is John Rackham, but everybody calls him Calico Jack. Jack, by the way, this is the guy they based your Johnny Depp character off of, in case you were wondering who this guy really was. Jack has his own ship, he has his own crew. Anne wants to be part of that crew. You can't put a female on a pirate ship. Does anybody know why? Anybody big on pirates? Okay, I normally get some raunchy answers to that, so thank you for trying to keep it family friendly. I've seen some wheels spinning out of you. So she was like, oh, do I want to say it out loud? It was bad luck. So that's why I don't always throw that question out there, especially if there's kids out there, because I do get some really nasty answers. But anyway, he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy to look like my crew, you can be part of the crew, but you're going to be a female in my quarters. She's okay with this. Why? Because Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy apprentice back home in Ireland to hide her from his wife. She gets it. It's a man's world, but now she's a pirate. She's very excited. Now, let's put 2 and 2 together. She's a female in his quarters. She's eventually going to get pregnant, and you can't have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a girl, and they'll get rid of Jack as captain. They'll vote him off because they have a democracy. So, before she starts to show her pregnancy, Jack drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby here. They're friends of mine. They'll help you out. Come back later, and we'll figure it out from there. She goes and has the baby, but returns without a child. I have no idea what happened to this baby. None of my research has ever discovered it. However, she does come back dressed as a female. This makes Jack angry because now everybody's going to know he let a girl on the ship and they're going to recognize her. So to make him even more mad, she's going to go flirting with the pirate crew that he just captured. They're down below deck. We're on guy number 3. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female, dressed like a guy, to be part of the crew the Calico Jack just captured. And you're like, yep, I can see that. And I told you, it gets a little crazy. This young lady's name was Mary Reed. She went by Mark Reed to become a pirate. Her and Mary became friends. They became lovers, possibly. We'll never really know for sure because of the time period. So, but the British find out where they are. They send an entire fleet of ships to come take down one measly pirate ship. The rumor is that Anne and Mary were the only 2 pirates not drunk enough, with their 1-bullet flintlocks, to come up and fight against this whole fleet of ships. That's obviously not going to work out. 2 ladies with 1-bullet guns? Come on. They're going to get arrested. As they're being arrested, Anne looks at her captain in bow, Calico Jack, and she says, I'm so sorry to see you here, but if you would have fought like a man, you wouldn't be hanged like a dog. The word dog shows up. We've even had dogs barking on spirit boxes on our way in here, so take that for what it's worth. We actually talk about that later. But anyway, back to the 2 young ladies. The judge wants to see the 2 men that fought back so valiantly on their own. He's already tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunk pirates that wouldn't fight. They're dead and gone. The 2 ladies go in front, trying to reveal their genders, trying to save themselves. The judge does not care that they're female. They're still pirates. So they scream out, we plead our bellies, which means they're claiming to be pregnant. You can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. So the judge sends them both back to jail, delays the hanging. Dad is still up here in South Carolina with all of his Irish money. He brings Anne home. He bails her out. And she remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4. We're going to count Mary because we don't really know. She has 4 kids and dies at the age of 84. Very abrupt ending with Anne because we don't know much about her after her pirate career. Mary Reed died 5 months later in that Jamaican jail from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. You can use your imagination on that. Most books will tell you that it was something simple like fever. I say let's make it romantic and call it scurvy. Why the hell not? It's probably bumpy and gross and nasty. Here's what I left out of the story. I'm not going to assign questions here because this is not the prominent English woman that we need to tiptoe around. We can kick Anne in the shins to get our answers if we have to. The things I left out are the names of Anne Bonny's parents. I called them Dad and the Mistress. So you can ask what those parents' names are, and hopefully you're going to get them out of your communication devices. I left out the name of the city where Anne grew up in Ireland on purpose, so that way you can have something to work with. The name of Calico Jack's ship. I did not tell you what that is either. And the color of Anne Bonny's hair, which you can all probably guess that she is the cliche of red hair and green-eyed Irish woman. So she did have red hair. That's an easy one. So if somebody's struggling with a spirit box, I usually throw them 1-syllable answers. They're easier to grab and easier to hear. So anything else you want to ask in this location, by all means do so. Some of it I won't be able to prove because especially with that baby in Cuba, I have no idea what happened. So if we get answers, that's on you. I just can't prove what it actually is. So we're going to spread out in this location and ignore the person playing really loud music from their cell phone walking down the street. It's not even like a bad car ride. It's just somebody on their cell phone. How's our word list coming? I want to know that before we do leave the space.
Proof. 5 round beyond.
Hit the circle back button to go back to the main screen and then back into the list.
Ceiling.
Okay, go back.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have anything new now?
Count.
Count. All right. Lexi, did you hear anything else? All right. Kara, let's get you unmuted. Let's have some fun with this. Let's get those record buttons going. I'll do a few round robins in here, and then we'll see what we get. I got to write down doctor, and what else was there I needed to write down?
It was baby.
Baby. On the EMF readings, closely go to the
Gotta ask her a question.
What are we gonna ask?
What'd she do to that baby? That's what I want to know.
I love how you both are working together, by the way. Love it.
What do you think?
How about being wet? I don't know what he said.
Do you recognize any of these songs?
I don't listen to that much Hispanic music.
It's not Hispanic music.
Most of it is. We need to know her daddy's name.
Yeah. What was your dad's name, Ann? What did you do to the baby? What did he say, Jen?
It's a Macau.
Cow?
Macau.
Macau?
Macau, yeah.
See my name on there? Definitely shout it out. Well, it could be relevant in one of the frequencies.
What about the mom's name?
Yeah.
No, the mistress.
The mistress. What was your the mistress name?
I didn't want you to run, but you know, you still can.
I still got
Yeah, it says wrong.
0.
Okay.
She's giving us 0 answers. That's what she's saying. Come this way. Is that the sky?
I think think so.
Can't be though, because it's.
It's an interesting building. I love the building. I don't want to talk about the architecture. Why it's not sort of irritating.
Oh, I gotta stay away from the people. All right, what's the mistress name? The mistress name. Sassy. Alright, what were the names we're going to have? Things, words?
Alright, you two, how are we doing over here? What do we get? Don't
I
question
don't
it.
remember.
Oh, I was going to say, don't question it, just shout it out.
Sassy.
Mm.
Yeah.
Sassy.
There was a name. What did it start with?
That was Jim or something.
Yeah, there was Jin.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know who Jim is. Unless James went by Jim, which I doubt.
And McAllen, something like that.
Yeah, McAllen.
So Jim and then McAllen.
And Sassy. That was very clear.
We do get the song Girls Just Want to Have Fun here all the time.
Okay.
Or Material Girl.
Okay.
So again, I don't find this coincidental that I hear them all the time while we're discussing
Yeah.
these two female pirates.
Okay.
So again, when you hear things like sassy, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
It is a great description. To me, it's not evidence until I have something else a little bit more specific.
Yeah.
You get, I mean, obviously I look for, facts.
Yeah.
But it is kind of fun when we do hear things like that. I will tell you, one of the best things I heard from two DJs talking was two females, and they were laughing hysterically and saying, they think we're guys, and that was the end of that little... And again, I can't make this stuff up. It was like one of the best things I think I've ever heard here,
That's
other than the
awesome.
word pirate coming out of the SB11 just
Okay.
by itself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was just pirate.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was very
Okay.
cool. But yeah, keep listening. This is a place where I can, do several round robins before we go hit our last stop.
Okay.
But this is where I want to kind of make sure you get the gist of what you're listening to. So you guys, you're getting better at it.
Okay.
Did you want to try that blindfold test at the next location? Because you're the one with the spirit box where you have to do that.
I
Yes,
mean,
she
yeah,
does.
I'll
Yeah.
do it, yeah.
So I'm probably going to put Kara on the VR piece. I haven't explained that yet. I'll explain it here before we leave. But them two will sit together on a bench while I take the other four of you. I mean, we'll be able to see them. Like, I'm not going to leave them in a dark park and walk away. I'm not that guy. It's just, I don't like for you guys to put the gear on right away because, again, it's weird because I normally hand spirit boxes to females. I don't mean to do that. It's just, I know females talk more than guys.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, the guys come up with the best evidence. I don't know how it works. But anyway, normally if I sit two ladies down on a bench and then blindfold them, it doesn't look good if I walk away.
Okay.
So we'll talk more about that before we leave. But keep listening. I want to
Okay.
see what's going on with Kara.
Okay. I wonder if somebody lives there.
That light just came on.
I know. There's somebody in the window. Notice there's a lot of window units.
Okay, look over here, more towards the building. In the city she grew up in what was it, Ireland?
Yeah. What was the city that she grew up in Ireland? I didn't know what to do. She just answered my question. What'd you do with the baby?
I went down, we asked what to do with the baby, and she said I didn't know what to do.
Here, Anne.
Yeah. Yeah, that was crazy.
Well, first off, I'm
Oh
not doing
gosh,
this.
we're gonna have ghosts following us home.
This is all
Oh my god, we're gonna have pirate ships following us home.
In the car.
believe it or not. It's not a hustle bustle of the city. So those stores, they really go. I also pay attention to the ANX and the sun. Pay attention to those things just to kind of see visually.
Is it like Amsterdam?
Right now, we're really doing the best activity should be happening. About to come up on a hill. So that's usually when I see the highest amount of activity because the most closest to me. So, normally is when it's a very deep work. So I pay attention to those things coming up on the hill. So we're getting close.
I just can't understand it.
It's very staticky.
Wanna walk?
All right, ladies, let's rein this one in. It's kind of, we don't have a whole lot going on. We got a little bit, but not much. So, Lexi, Crystal, what do we got? Anything new?
I got Anne.
Okay.
In Amsterdam.
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 Wow, that's serious. You guys got anything else out of yours?
Maybe Leo or Rick.
That's a Leo or
Well,
Rick.
there was a Leo when we were asking what was your dad's name. She heard Leo at one point, and then
Okay.
we heard something with an R, like Rick or Ray, something like that. But he, yeah,